more data you have, the more you dive into it, the more rich your results can be.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Process Lab. I'm your host, Sam Drawshak, and I'm here today with Dave Valentine. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Happy to be here, brother. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. So Dave is a former agency founder, CEO, business coach, and strategist. He's currently the Chief Revenue Officer of Finch, a performance agency growing e-commerce brands through digital advertising. Dave has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, and TEDx for his ability to drive results that simplify growth and help business owners find freedom as they scale. And with that, today we're going to pick his brain in a little more detail about his digital advertising experience. He's got some strong process knowledge there, so I think we'll start there and see where it goes. Dave, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what digital advertising is to you, especially from a process perspective?
Yeah, so much of what people do when it comes to digital advertising, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, business owners, even a lot of marketers that I know that are professional marketers but aren't necessarily skilled in digital advertising, it's like a black box, right? They know that they have the ability to go turn on Facebook, Instagram ads, Google ads, Bing, whatever. The way to generate the kind of results that they're looking for is outside of their concepts. And so a lot of the reason for that is they think, man, I got to go in and start spending fill in the blank for what feels like a large budget today in order to get the results I need. When in reality, you could start running ads for $1 to $10 a day to start getting results. And then if you have a simple framework, which we'll share here in a minute, you can easily scale that up based on the results that you're getting. That combined with a healthy feedback loop of 48 to 72 hours, you'll find ways to increase your return on ad spend, your cost per lead generated decreasing, and getting better results in a scalable fashion that actually allows you to grow your company through a new channel, which is digital advertising, not to mention a whole host of other ones that can certainly be beneficial as well.
So before then we get into the process magic behind what you're saying, because it makes sense. I mean, the spirit of it is start small and iterate, right? Versus like having to have this massive campaign. But as you know, for anyone listening to this, is this applicable to everyone? Is there first some assessment or some understanding of digital advertising is a better channel for some industries or some products than others?
There's not a industry that digital advertising doesn't work well for. There are certainly limitations for certain things that you can advertise online, right? So true blue THC, nearly impossible to advertise online. So a lot of things that are federally illegal, really, really challenging, but not impossible, is what I would say. And then there are other things that are very straightforward. So 99% of the people that are listening to this that are business owners, entrepreneurs, in marketing departments, whatever, there's pretty straightforward paths to getting great results for you. So if you're going to let's kind of start with some ideas here. If you're going to run a local business, I was talking to a female owned and operated DJ company out of Orlando, Florida this morning. She and I were discussing where she's advertising. She's spending around 40 grand a year and she's getting some really good results. She's got a couple $1 million business based off that digital ad spend alone. And she's in some pretty thoughtful spots like The Knot, which is a wedding planning site, right? Makes sense. People are going there looking for that particular service amongst others. The other places that I talked about with her that she hadn't considered was if you have a local business, HVAC, you're a DJ, you are in plumbing, whatever that looks like, and you're providing something locally, I would shoot videos of the owner and founder, get some really good creative, and then start promoting them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter even, and really niching down into the zip codes that are closest to you that you want to be known for. If you do that for 3 months, you'll be a minor celebrity in your hometown or your local area within that 3-month time period. And you probably only need to spend $10 to $15 a day to get that done, which is really not that expensive. And so then it's way cheaper than joining a B&I group or something like that. And you're getting actually better results. So when it comes to how you go about that process, it does differ depending on what your business is. Certainly, it's more challenging to get traction at a national level than it is to get traction at a local level or even a regional level. But yeah, pretty much without equivocation, digital advertising can work for every single business that I've ever encountered.
Got it. Well, that makes it easy. You don't have to qualify too much. I guess with
That's
that
right.
though, let's hear a little bit. I have a million questions probably about the process and what versus what other people are doing, but let's jump into it then. You said you might share some of how that process looks in your mind. So why don't we start with that?
Yeah, so first things first, if before you launch digital ads, you need to ask yourself, what is the result that you're trying to generate? And I know that may sound trite, but a lot of people come to me and they don't know what their goal is really. They just want more sales. Great. Well, what does more sales mean? So, for instance, okay, you own a roofing company. People probably aren't that own roofing companies aren't taking cash up front in a e-commerce fashion. So you're looking for lead generation. So the question becomes, when do people need roofs, right? Like, well, most of the time, uh, people get new roofs whenever there are hail events, there's a weather event. Um, there are other times where the roof is just old, but for the most part, it's around weather events. Okay, so if it's around weather events, what can I do in the digital advertising space to really generate some sort of result? One of the things that I've done in the past is run an awareness campaign during the non-weather intensive seasons. So brand awareness being, hey, I want everybody to know that we exist. So I had a roofing company client, I had a number, but one that I'm thinking of years ago with my first agency, and they were in the DFW area in Texas. And so that area actually has 5,000 different roofing companies, or at least it did at the time. And a lot of them are huge, right? So you're trying to cut through the noise. So what we did was, when it wasn't bad weather season, we were running awareness campaigns. And here's what that looked like. We created a character from a puppet, and we named him Rod the Roofer. And we ran Facebook and Instagram ads with a Rod the Roofer. And he would basically tell dad jokes. We'd put animations all around it, and we'd run those consistently in the off season. Then whenever there was a big hailstorm event, we'd still use that same puppet, but he'd be in a still image saying, hey, I'm Rod the Roofer. I'm here to help you. And we'd mention the name of our roofing company in the ad. Additionally, we had ads that were on a specific platform that triggered automatically whenever there was a hailstorm in a specific zip code. We would start to show ads automatically with a predetermined budget anytime that there was a hail event or a tornado or something like that. And so that gave us a leg up digitally as well. So there are different things that you can do once you kind of understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. For them, it was lead gen. We knew that brand awareness is the first step to generating leads. And so what ended up happening as we ran that sort of playbook, if you will, is whenever they had the exact same amount of marketing and advertising spend year over year, but we were able to increase their total budget or their total revenue from 5 million the year before to 6.8 million the year after. Everything stayed the same budget wise. We just ran a creative campaign with a more clever digital advertising strategy, and it yielded big results. So that's an example of a process that we go through where it's just going, okay, what's the result we want to generate? Number one. Number two, what is the thing that's going to trigger someone to make a purchase or submit their information? Oh, it's a weather event. Great, let's plan for that. And then number three, how can we make it so that when that event occurs, that weather event happens, that people already know, like, and trust us? Oh, well, we're going to use awareness to drive that. And so as we kind of think through some of that, then it allows us to make shifts in real time to also get better results.
Yeah, that's great. And there's a lot of aspects of that where, well, first, like the automation piece, is that usually brokered by software? Is this something that people usually can do themselves, or are you more referring to just like kind of knowing the patterns and setting that up within your own internal process, whatever they are?
Yeah, so there are software that are out there. So there's a site called Weather Ads, and you can literally set it up for specific weather events in a given zip code or area. And it's a great tool. That being said, there are other things that you just know as a marketer and digital advertiser, right? That there are events that trigger people to respond in a certain way. And so it's really just understanding their behavior. and then moving towards that in a way that actually makes a dollar revenue generating activity occur. So there are software to do that, but then there's also internal processes that we had, because you can't run weather ads on social platforms. So as soon as there was an event like that, we had an internal process that triggered one of our staff members to get online and flip on specific ads that had been pre-created for that exact reason. And we do the similar things for sports teams that we represent as well. Or we have some that are like an aggregate. So UK Soccer Shop is a client of Finch, which means that they're selling, jerseys or kits for every soccer team out there. Well, when one of them wins a trophy, we automatically trigger a certain set of creative. And we always know who it's going to come down to. It's usually coming down to one of two teams. So we set up creative ahead of time so that when that event occurs and that one team wins, the ads automatically get turned on as soon as it happens. The same is true for the Super Bowl, which is, we're recording it just before that occurs. We do the same thing for that event as well for our clients where that's relevant. As soon as the Chiefs win, as soon as whoever wins, they automatically have ads that get turned on from our team. And that's an internal process that we've set up that is manual.
Okay. So I guess in the spirit of what you're talking about, you can definitely be a lot more intelligent with your digital marketing processes to reduce the costs and increase the ROI. But even in some of the use cases you're talking about, what strikes me is between like the creative, like being able to come up with puppet, type stuff, or doing videos or creating that, and having somebody with the marketing intelligence to actually look at the process, identify the customer, their behavior, identify your goals. Do you need a lot of that marketing acumen to kind of make this work? Like if I'm a small company or if I'm a medium-sized company, is this sort of has to be in collaboration with a consultant like yourself or a marketing department head? I guess in terms of how do-it-yourself do you feel like this is?
I think that like most things in entrepreneurship and business ownership, there's a point in time where you're doing everything because you can't afford not to. And then there's a point in time where you realize you can't afford to keep doing it yourself. You need to hire experts. So is it accessible to anyone? Totally. If you have an idea about your customer in any way, shape, or form, if you talk to them, if you understand what they're looking for, you can be dangerous in this space. If you want to be surgical, if you want to have a much better return on your advertising dollar, hiring an agency or a consultant goes a long way. It's the same reason why I don't do my taxes and I haven't done them for many years, right? I can do them and it's fine. It takes a lot of time. It's way painful because I'm a business owner and I don't get that much back versus when I pay my accountant, my CPA's easily saved me 80 grand over the past 8 years. Easily, probably more. So paying him $1,500, $2,000 a year to help me make that money, that's not even a question. And I think that people should look at the same thing when it comes to marketing. If that's not your forte, hire an expert to help you.
Yeah, I think that's super wise. And I like the way you articulated it. I certainly couldn't do my own taxes at this point. I don't even think I could pretend that I could get through it if I had to. So I understand the sentiment. Yeah, because a lot of times the stuff that, at least for me, and I'm projecting my own insecurities when it comes to marketing, how much you always think, well, I don't feel like I'm a particularly creative person, or I don't feel like I really know how to connect with my customers in that very personal way or understand their patterns. There's a lot there that I think you could have a really good process. And it's perhaps just knowing that you're not that person, right? Or you're not going to sit in a room and think about the creative and the way that might influence the customer. And then you've got to find that talent somewhere, right? Either internally or externally.
100%. And it's one of those things where knowing yourself is 90% of the battle, right? Like I've always said to clients, they're like, oh, you're so dynamic. You're so fun. I want you on my account. I'm like, no, you don't. And I just tell them straight up, I'm like, no, you don't. Because you want somebody that's going to be detail oriented and make sure the trains arrive on time. And I can look at those things and help create those processes for the team. I'm not the guy that's going to follow through on them though. And that's just like bluntly clear. And so then it makes it really helpful to the client because they're able to go, got it. Dave's here for the thought leadership. He's going to come in with big ideas. He's going to help us achieve some bigger goals and kind of lead the team. But if we're meeting with Dave, there's something's wrong. And I think that that's part of like just being brutally honest with going, man, I'm not good at my taxes. I'm not great at my, whatever it is, right? There are things we're just not that gifted at. And getting those off your plate as quickly as possible, letting experts do it, there's nothing better.
Yeah. And so to come back to the, not to get too far off the secret sauce for the digital marketing or digital advertising more specifically, you talk about being able to understand the process, understand the problem, understand the behavior of the customer. It sounds like a lot of it is just the differentiator here is just being smart and also being able to articulate the process that the customers are going through, right? I just want to make sure I'm reflecting that. And if you have any more to add on that or expand, I'd love to hear it.
So digital advertising is great because you only have a few levers to pull on. So when it comes to process, you can start to eliminate why something is or is not working really quickly. So let's use Facebook and Instagram advertising or meta advertising as an example, because I think all of us have a good experience with that, understand what that looks like. So number one, there's the targeting. Who are you showing up to? We represent a chocolate company right now that is a high-end chocolate brand. It's around Valentine's Day. We have a bunch of different targeting that we do, but one of the target sets that's working really, really well, men with girlfriends and wives. It's pretty straightforward. It's not a crazy target set, but it's one that you can find on Facebook and Instagram. Why? Because everybody puts their relationship status on. So we actually give that information freely to advertisers. So we target those people. So number one thing you could do is, hey, is my targeting right? Like if I have a high-end product and I'm targeting someone that doesn't have a whole lot of money, let's say someone that's under the age of 25, it's gonna be tough to move that product. Not because they don't love it, but because they just can't afford it, right? So it's really looking at first that target set. Are we reaching the right people? Number two is the imagery. Like video is huge. User generated content is more impactful than ever. So finding micro influencers who actually know, like, and want to talk about your company, your brand, your product is tremendous. It's the best way to grow. But yeah, do you have the right imagery, right? The next one is copy. Like are headlines in text compelling? Are they hooky? Are they fun? What's interesting about Facebook and Instagram is they've really started to leverage AI and language learning models to find the right like tone and length that really grabs people. So you can set up one line or two, and I love to use ChatGPT for this. Tell ChatGPT about your brand and have it say, hey, I'm writing some Facebook and Instagram ads. Can you give me some ideas for headline copy, description copy, and main text copy? And it will actually auto-populate that for you if you use it right. And one of the things that's great about using ChatGPT or something like that is you can train that model, that AI bot, on all about your brand, all about your company. So then when you go back to it and you're logged in, it automatically knows what you're talking about. I can just say, hey, I'm writing, copy for this client. I'm trying to get results. We're writing it for Valentine's Day. Here's the theme of the campaign. And it spits out everything that I need. And then Facebook also augments that as well with its own AI copy. Then the last thing that you can play around with is what is the offer, right? So I always love to throw out great offers, especially for new customer acquisition. If you're running e-commerce or with lead gen, I never like to go to zero. I don't recommend that unless you're trying to be Taco Bell. Taco Bell's got a very viable business model. They sell very cheap grade D products that we wouldn't give to prisoners in the US, by the way. And they sell it for a profit to people that frankly are gaming late at night and are imbibing in substances. That's actually their identified ICP is 18 to 24-year-old men who drive clunker cars and are gamers that are up late at night. Like that's who they're trying to reach. So there is a model for that, but I would recommend instead making an offer that actually adds more value. So using my chocolate company as an example, whenever new customers come in and purchase, they don't get a discount, but they do get an extra chocolate bar, or maybe they get a sleeve of chocolate truffles that are valued at $25. Maybe they're going to get hot chocolate bombs, right? So they're getting value instead of getting just a discount. It also sets you up for better success. You're not racing to the bottom. So those 4 levers, targeting, the imagery, the copy, and the offer, are all things that you can play around with to see what works. Because maybe your imagery is killer. It's a great video. It's a great photo. But maybe the text is a little bit off. Maybe the offer needs some tweaking. Maybe we need to tweak who we're reaching out to. Maybe it's simply going from, we're going to try and hit everybody, to, what about women age 18 to 34, right? So it's finding those little nuggets. And the cool part about digital advertising is you do get all that data back from the platforms on who's purchasing, when they purchase, how much they purchase for, and you can make adjustments as you go. So the more data you have, the more you dive into it, the more rich your results can be.
Right. Yeah, a lot of wisdom there. And especially I like the way you organize the 4 levers. That makes it really clear cut. I had a follow-up question on the personas piece, or the customer, or the targeting piece, I suppose. Especially now, a lot of the people in my universe, at least, they're creating these AI products that are applicable to a huge market, right? A huge segment of people. And you ask them, it's like, well, who is this for? And well, it could be for anybody, right? There's a lot more of that when you have these digital services that could be so far reaching. Do you have any guidance for people in those situations who are really trying to figure out what their ICP is? They're trying to niche down, but truly they have a product that is applicable to like a pretty wide range of people.
I would start, so the good old bell curve of adoption, right? There's still a level of adoption that's happening with AI and specifically SaaS products in general, right?
Yeah.
So I always like to ask my current customers, hey, tell us about, would you take a 1-minute survey to get a credit on your account, or to have, again, value add, to have access to a beta tool that we haven't released to everybody yet? Of course, yeah, super. I'd be totally interested in that. And so then you could say, like, what age range are you? What gender do you identify with? Like, where do you live in the country? What's your job level? Are you a C-suite? Are you an owner founder? Are you a VP, director? Entry level? Like, where are you? What industry are you in? Because that sort of information, the people that have already bought in, it's gold. I mean, it's actually gold. So finding that sort of information is as easy as setting up a survey. Could be sent out via email, could be a little pop-up box on your website. Getting that information and then going after more people that look like that. So one of the ways that you can do this on Facebook and Instagram, because I'm using that as a case study here, you can create what's called lookalike audiences based off your current customer list. So quite literally, you can download your entire customer list as a CSV, upload it into Meta on the back end of their ad platform. It will take some time. It usually finds 40 to 50% of your customers connected to that platform. How? Their email. So then you can take that email and say, hey, Facebook, Instagram, I want to find people that look like this. It's called creating a lookalike audience. They'll take 200 plus data point pieces from each of those profiles that are from your current customer list and create a lookalike audience that's similar to those profiles. And then you can advertise to them. This is a potent way to kick it up a notch when it comes to meta advertising, to go find new customers that are a lot alike what your current customer base looks like.
Yeah, that's great. And as far as digital advertising goes, then you talked earlier about how it's applicable to pretty much everyone. There's not anybody who'd be a bad fit for digital advertising. Would you prioritize this differently, like against other marketing activities? Obviously, you might be a bit biased, but where does digital advertising sit, I guess, in a slate of other processes you might be running, like as part of a holistic marketing strategy, for example?
Digital advertising is great because it gets you results quickly. It's not cheap. So where some people would say, so a client of mine on the consulting side, they were an agency. They were doing $35,000 a month in revenue, and they were struggling to make it. They didn't have extra money to dish out towards advertising. So he had a decent social media following, and we doubled down on that as a channel because it was cheaper for him to give of his time than of his money. And so he just became prolific, ended up getting 100,000 plus TikTok followers, over the course of the year that we worked together. He had already had like 30 or 40,000, I think, when we started working together, maybe more. And that became the main lead gen source, and it doubled his book of business more than doubled his book of business in under 8 months. And so where does digital advertising lie in this grand scheme of things? It's different from brand to brand. It's different, person to person. And it also depends on what that person's natural skill set is, right? So, for you, Sam, you're an excellent interviewer. I've done 100 plus podcast episodes as a guest. You're one of the better ones. So I could tell this is like
Thank
naturally
you.
in your, hey, I just call him like a Sam. It's in your bones. You're really good at connecting with people. This seems like a natural marketing channel for you to pick up and use immediately. Why? Because you're connecting with people that are your ideal customers and clients. You're also having a freewheeling conversation where you get to, be heard and seen by them. I think that this works for what you're up to, right? I also think that eventually there's going to come a point in time where if you haven't already, where you start to make digital advertising a bigger part of your marketing, pie of assets that you're doing. And that may come later. But for other brands, it's sooner, right? So the chocolate company that I'm working with, they started digital advertising immediately, like day one. I'm talking to a CBD seltzer. They're coming out of the gate with $200,000 a month in digital advertising spend on day one, because they know that that's how they're going to reach their audience. So it really depends on what you're doing, where you're at, what your goals are, what your natural talent and proclivity are, and then what the market dictates as well.
That's great. And I think I have time for one more for you. And this one I think is important, because I know a lot of people in my network, at least, are afraid of digital advertising, actually. And the reason is because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there looking for marketing help. There's a lot of different agencies. There's a lot of different options. And it's a scary thing when somebody says, hey, I think we should go digital advertising, because a lot of times there's a lot of technical stuff there that a lot of people just aren't familiar with and they don't understand. So I'd love to get your leaving thoughts, because I'm sure if you can, we'd love to work with you. But if you can't, if I'm searching for just general marketing help, do you have any things to watch out for people? Like if they say, hey, I got this guy, he's telling me you're going to digital advertising, what can we be a little more educated around so we can vet who's in the know and who's not in the know in this space?
So
in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, no problem. So that's a great question, Sam. I think a couple things here. So number one, you want to look for longevity of the company and or size, because it does give credence to how capable they are. Even if that's not there, though, will they put their money where their mouth is? Here's what I mean by that. There are two things that we do at the ad agency Finch that demonstrate our ability and our service offering before we really ask people to put too much skin in the game. So one of those is we provide an audit. It's $4,000 for the audit. We'll look at everything that people are doing right now on their digital advertising and give them recommendations on what they could do to improve. One of three outcomes comes from that. One, they love it and they go do those activities themselves. They make the changes that we recommend. They spin up the new campaigns. They try the new platform. Two, they love what we said and they go, hey, can you guys just run it? We don't want to do it, Great. Then we give them half of that amount back as a credit on future invoices and we run their ads for them. The idea there being, hey, again, we're proving it to you. Or option number three, we provided no value to, this has never happened, but it could. We provided no value to the client from that audit and they get every penny back. So that's a idea of how we demonstrate value that's pretty much risk-free outside of someone's time. The other one that we do is a 90-day proof of concept where we say, hey, look, essentially there's no minimum ad spend. We're only going to take 10% of that as our fee, which will not cover our bills. We will totally lose money working with you here. And for 90 days, our job is to prove to you that we can get you the returns that you need that make sense to scale. And not everybody qualifies for that one, because sometimes people are like, I need a 10x ROAS. Okay, well, no one's heard of you. You're not going to get $10 back for every dollar that you spend in advertising out of the gate. That takes time. We have clients that get that and better, but they have better pull through as a brand. So if you're looking for something more like a 3 to 6 ROAS, we could probably hit somewhere in there pretty effectively. That would work. But if not, this isn't going to work. And so people kind of DQ themselves or qualify themselves for that. So you're going to want to look for somebody that's willing to put their money where their mouth is a little bit and say things like, hey, we're putting skin in the game. And I just really, in every agency that I've owned and all my SaaS products that I've owned and the flight school that I've owned, all that stuff, we always have this prove it model where we're like, look, I want to give you so much value that when we get to the point in time where you actually start to give us real budget, real money, you're counting on us to help you succeed, that you're confident moving forward. Because we've all been there where we're like, I thought I was buying something cool, only for it to be like, womp womp. This is not it. So I think that you're going to want to look for people that will really put their money where their mouth is and prove it to you. And so, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'd say too, Sam, is I'm totally down to offer this to anybody that's listening here. Like, if you're worried about that, I show up to every call that I take as though I'm consulting with the prospect. So with that DJ today, I told her she wasn't a good fit. Like, I told her, I was like, you have some other things to go figure out. Here's what I would do if it were me and I were you. And so I just gave her free marketing and advertising advice from my 20 years of experience. And I gave her 30 minutes of my time for free. And I said, hey, when you're ready, when you've hit these marks, hit me back. Because like, part of the game, and I really believe this, and I feel this in my bones, Sam, we need small businesses to win. It's where the action's at. It's where the goodness works out. It's where people are treated like people and not like numbers. It's where innovation occurs at a rapid speed, unlike our major corporations. We need small businesses to succeed, and I'm an advocate for those people. So if you're one of those people, it's like, man, I need that time. Drop me a line, dave.valentine@finch.com, and mention the name of the podcast in the headline of the email, and I'm happy to give you 30 minutes of my time for free, whether we work together or not.
Thank you. That's great. And that kind of takes me right into the segue. It seems like you already made the offer. Do you have anything else that you could offer up in terms of interfacing with you, finding you? I think you pretty much just said it, though.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to check me out on social media at RealDval, RealDval. I'm really active on TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn, just Dave Valentine. You can find me. And I'm always producing good stuff. LinkedIn's definitely where I go into long form. Same with Twitter. And yeah, I'd love to chat with you there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And to his last comments, we love when we talk to advisors and consultants who have integrity and will tell clients no. That's our favorite type of consultants that come on the show. And I couldn't have said it any better. Small, medium businesses, we've got to look out for our small and medium businesses, which is why, if you're listening, look for this kind of energy that Dave's bringing onto the show right now. Don't try to get somebody to hard sell you into something if they can't back it up, because there's a lot of different services out there. So be conscious out there and know that there are people like Dave who are out there in your corner trying to help you get the best out of these processes. So thanks so much for sharing your knowledge, your time, and your experience. It was a pleasure talking to you. And for those of you listening, we'll see you next time on the Process Lab. Take care.